Yo guys, I'm Niek from the Produce School and welcome back to a brand new video. In this video I'm going to talk about the use of percussion in modern dance music. I will talk about the impact of percussion on your production, how to choose and use percussion, and how to get creative, for example, with cool effects. This is a highly requested video and I'm going to try to cover all the main points on this topic. And without further ado, let's now dive straight into the video. Percussive elements in a piece of music usually refer to the parts of the music that contribute to the groove and the rhythmic aspect. This creates a beat or a pulse. This includes drum lines, but also any part of the music that adds rhythm, basically. Even if it's not a traditional percussion instrument, for example a rhythm guitar or a piano riff, can also serve as a percussive element, as long as they are meant to contribute to the groove of the song. Percussion instruments keep the rhythm of the songs and ensure it basically blends all the other instruments together, which creates a really glued together sound. In today's video, we will focus on percussive elements as we know them in modern dance music. Almost any sample pack has them. They are basically audio samples that can be used as drum, but they differ from traditional drum samples like heads and claps, and in many cases these percussion sounds are not even produced by conventional instruments. Most of the time they are literally created by digital synths, or they are created by field recordings. So if we look at one of our upcoming packs, we always have like a separate percussion folder, and I will just quickly browse through the sounds so you get an idea of what kind of percussion sounds we're focusing on today. As you can hear, there's a lot of variation possible for percussive sounds, because basically any sound that sounds like something is being struck or something that's being hit can be a percussion. Let's now listen to an example of a track with and without percussion, so we can demonstrate the importance and basically the effect of percussion on your music. Choosing percussion can be kind of a random process, which is sometimes just a hit or a miss, but there are a few guidelines that can help you make some more informed decisions when choosing percussions to use in your production. So firstly, context is key. The use of percussion differs for any genre, and even within genres it can be totally different. So the percussion should sound and support the overall mood and vibe of the track, and it should not sound too random. So I have a few examples of percussion loops from sample packs that are for different genres. I don't want to say you can't use like a dubstep loop in house. With some creativity you can get awesome results, but in general it's easier to stick to something that fits to the genre a bit more. So let's compare these loops. First of all, we have this perc loop from Dimension, which is a house pack. So this one is tailored to house. Not a lot of transient, and as you can hear, it's really made to contribute to the groove, which is very important in house music. Then we have this Moombaton house percussion. It also has a kick underneath, but those like Tommy percussion sounds are typical Moombaton sounds, and those are not usable in any context. Next we have like an Italo loop with very distinct toms and some kind of noisy percussion. Lastly we have this techno loop, which sounds like this. And as you can hear, they are all percussion loops, but they all sound like different. And this is a result of the loops being tailored to a specific context. Next up, you should consider the frequency spectrum. As already told, a percussion is not a very specific sound, and the sounds can really differ a lot. So this means it can also differ a lot in terms of the frequencies that are in a percussion. Some percussion have a lot of low frequencies and other ones are more dominant in like the higher area. This means you have to carefully listen and also reason on why you're selecting a certain percussion. To demonstrate the difference, I loaded up a FEP filter and I will now just play a few different percussion. When you analyze the frequencies, it will get clear. So first of all, we have this percussion. It's very dominant in the mid area, which most of the percussions are. Another percussion which is more dominant in the high mid frequency area. Now a percussion which is really dominant in the high frequency area. And another tommy kind of percussion which is more dominant in the low and low mid area. So as you can see, the sounds differ a lot, and you should also take this in consideration when choosing them in a specific context. Next up, you should consider the texture of the sound. Each sound that you choose brings a unique texture or color to your production. This is something you can also keep in mind when choosing a percussion. So I loaded a few examples, and first of all, I loaded some organic house percussion, and those are really organic sounding sounds like this. You can use these kind of percussions if you want your track to sound more organic. Sometimes you just want a more gritty or synthesized percussion for groove purpose, and in that case sounds like this. Lastly, experimentation is really the key to find out what percussion you should use in a specific context. The easiest way to do this is to loop a part of your track, put a MIDI pattern on it, and then just start dragging in certain percussions so you immediately hear it in the context. So in this case, a really simple example, I just have this kick and clap. And for example, I already loaded in this percussion and just create a really simple rhythm. Now you can simply play the track and then simultaneously just replace the percussion till you hear something that you want in your track. So this will give you an immediate idea about how the percussion is going to sound in the context, which is a really nice way to do it. Let's now move on to programming the drum MIDIs and arranging the percussion. In music, you have multiple components of rhythm that are very useful to know. First of all, you have bars. So the part between the 1 and the 2 here on top is 1 bar. A bar is divided into 4 beats. And the beat is basically what you would tap your foot to when you hear a track. And in modern dance music, a 4/4 rhythm is like the standard. So just a kick hitting on every beat. Subdivisions are what happen when you divide a beat into even smaller parts. And these can include half notes, quarter notes, 8 notes, 60 notes, and so on. And those subdivisions are a crucial part for this video today, because those subdivisions are really helpful to create rhythms and patterns. For example, a common pattern might have a kick drum on each beat and a hi-hat hitting on every 8 or 16th. And by placing different percussive elements on different subdivisions, you can create a variety of rhythmic patterns. Arranging percussion and programming drum MIDI might seem technical, but it's also a highly creative process. And in my opinion, it works very well to start arranging your percussion once you have a basic foundation already. Because the context, as I already told you earlier in this video, just makes it much easier to determine if a percussion sounds good or not. I will now just try to come up with a percussion groove myself on top of this house track that we created for a new pack, which does not have percussion on it yet. In this case, it's a house track. So what I would do is I would go to a house sample pack and then just start selecting different perks and try out different kind of rhythms. And then we can start playing around. For these kind of things, I prefer to use MIDI because it gives you much more control over the velocity and the swing, which you want to use for some human touch. So let's just start creating a basic groove. So let's open up the velocity menu right here and start playing around with that. You can also change the grid to, for example, 1 second step, so you can add shorter notes. If this occurs, you should turn off the loop points right here. You can also select different controls in the bottom here. So for example, panning, and you can then start to pan certain different perks to the left or the right. And you can also add some swing, and this places the notes slightly off beat, just like a regular drummer would do. He would not hit every note exactly on the beat. So that sounds like this. Actually, just that swinging effect, like it says already. You could also use different quantize options right here. And you have different templates that are available in FL Studio already. And in Ableton, these are called grooves, but they are basically the same principle as well. A groovy perk loop like this would not work in all genres. So this is another good example of a perk loop being created in a specific context for a specific kind of sound. Lastly, I want to talk about some cool effects that you can use on percussion to make it even more interesting. I would recommend to always add the percussions to a separate mixer channel and then link them to a bus as well. So you can add some effects to them separately, but also on a bus. The first effect that you can play around with is delay and reverb. And let's try to add a little bit of reverb on the bus. It's just a sense of depth to the sound. Now you can also use delay. I want to try to use it on a separate percussion. For example, this one that hits like 4 times in a bar. And a really cool effect is a really short time and just a bit of level and not too much wet level. Even shorter. So you really get a kind of complex rhythmic echo. And this makes the sound a bit more interesting as well. You should also use panning and stereo width, but in this case I already played around with it a little bit in the MIDI section. And effects like chorus, flangers or phasers can also work on a bus to get a like sweeping effect, changing the sound all the time. And that's basically it for percussion loops. Let's listen what it sounds like in the context. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I tried to go as in-depth into this subject as possible and basically share all my knowledge about it with you in one video. The perks that I used in this video are from our sample packs, which you can check out in the link in the description. We have a huge variety of sample packs for different genres. So if you're searching for some new sounds, make sure to head over to our website. If you have any questions or suggestions, make sure to leave a comment down below and I will try to get back to you as soon as possible. For now, I want to thank you guys for watching and I see you guys in the next video.